The nervous system is the most physical expression of the spiritual world and the most spiritual expression of the physical. It's the bridge. You can have $1 trillion, but if you can't experience the richness and beauty of it, you're poor. The genuine wealth that any human being possesses is the level of sensitivity and the richness of our subjective experience.
Why are we not allowing ourselves to experience it?
You can have someone that has a completely dysregulated nervous system that has the conceptual knowing that there is a field of oneness, but it becomes alive in the nervous system.
And if we don't listen to those physical symptoms, they get worse and worse and worse until the body snaps. And then that snapping becomes the greatest opportunity for awakening, if the individual can see it through that lens. And it's all the intelligence of nature working through us.
There comes a time when the ceiling becomes the floor, and then the next ceiling is something that the person before couldn't perceive.
Yo, what's up everyone, and welcome to this episode of Stay Grounded with my dearest brother, Mr. Alec Verkuilen-Brogan. If you recognize Alec's name, it's because he's one of the most frequented guests on the Stay Grounded podcast. I love Alec dearly, and I respect him deeply on the path of supporting people with healing and awakening through his incredible work, The Geometry of Grace. We've talked a lot about the Geometry of Grace on previous episodes, but this one was such a meaningful conversation because I feel like every single year Alec and I get together, there's just like a deepening of our own prayer, our own understanding of the inner work, our own understanding of the nervous system. And this time, we were able to bring some of his ancient maps that he's been creating with human design and Vedic astrology and all of the work that he does with people and now teaches people to do with a lot of the hard data that we're seeing at Liberate. And to see the patterns overlap, to see how beliefs and energy systems and the geometry of trauma in some ways can actually be something that's mapped was so fascinating, so enlivening, and so empowering. Because if you can actually understand your own map, if you can understand where you are on your healing journey, if you can understand the nature of your grasping, the nature of your gripping, the nature of your tension, you can actually be liberated just through pure awareness. You can learn intrinsic tools for releasing bound energy and trauma and wound up tension from the body. And I just loved this conversation, and I hope you guys enjoy it too. So without further ado, here is my dearest brother, Mr. Alec Verkuilen-Brogan. Enjoy. My brother.
My brother.
My brother. Year 3 is a charm.
Mm-hmm.
The annual return to the Stay Grounded podcast.
Yes. Is this our third or fourth?
Oh, this might be our fourth.
I think it's our fourth.
I think we did. You're right.
Yeah, because we did 2
back to back.
Oh
my gosh, I forgot about that.
We did one about a year ago.
Yes. This is the fourth.
This is our fourth.
Wow.
Yes.
I think you're the most returned guest.
Oh, cool.
On the show. Yeah. No, I just love you, man, and I appreciate. And what I love most about an annual touch point is I can feel the deepening of our individual prayers.
Yeah. Wow.
Like just there's a deepening, a richness that I'm tracking, and I feel so grateful to have a brother like you who is so devoted to your path and so devoted to your service and your work. And it feels touching to have the chance to go deep and to have such meaningful conversations about things that are so important in today's day and age.
Yeah. And
so I just want to start with some gratitude.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, and I mirror all of that back to you. I mean, there's your impact is felt. You know, even just today, I told someone that I was coming, and she was like, "Oh yeah, Raj, like I know of him, and you were on that cruise together." And she knows of your podcast, and so many people just have expressed so much impact from what you're doing. And I love witnessing you be seen. Really, I really mean that, like, so deeply. Like, I love witnessing people see you because you're so deserving of it, you know, really. I mean, look at what you do. I mean, so thank you as well. I'm so grateful for you and for this and what's to come.
Well, let's get cracking, man.
Let's do it.
I mean, we have so much, so many directions.
That's true.
And we started with a conversation about the ancestral nervous system.
Yeah.
And, you know, just how we're not just individuated beings, right? Like, even if I want to think that I am Raj with Raj's experiences and Raj's life journey and Raj's beliefs, and I'm a byproduct of my parents. I'm a byproduct of my culture. I'm a byproduct of the place I live. I'm a byproduct of community. I'm a byproduct of every relationship. So to think that we are an individuated nervous system is silly.
Yes, it is. It is
And
silly.
to think that we are just one, it almost feels limiting. And when we have modalities or healing work or tools that just bring that level of focus, we're missing the bigger picture. So I'd love to just start with, like, what do you define as the nervous system?
Oh, wow. What a profound question, brother. Okay, we're starting deep. I love it.
Did you expect it?
Where else would we begin? So, you know, first things first, I just want to orient us. When in the work of Geometry of Grace, we say that there are three primary planes of geometry. There's the physical geometry, which is literally, right, it's like, you could call it like the tensegrity of the body or the geometry of the body. You know, there's well, just look around, look at yourself. There's a geometry to the world. And a lot of our culture fixates on this plane of geometry. We're so physically oriented, but there's a subtle dimension as well. So we have the physical, and then we have the subtle dimension of geometry. This is more like what we might call for instance, if you feel love, you might feel that in your heart space or a rush over your body, but that's a subtle phenomena. The emotional realm, the experience of beauty, the rush that we get when our beloved looks at us so deeply, right? This is subtle phenomena. The nervous system exists here too. You see, the nervous system is the most physical expression of the spiritual world and the most spiritual expression of the physical. It's the bridge. It's so profound to consider this, and I hope that everyone that's here can really take this in for a moment. This is why right now we have this gift of such an emphasis on the nervous system, because it's the bridge. It's the bridge to the commonly unseen. And the more regulated our nervous system, you see, I'll real quick, what's the greatest wealth of a human? It's interesting to consider. It's the richness of our subjective experience. It is. Because you can have $1 trillion, but if you have very little life sensitivity, you can have everything in the world, but if you can't experience the richness and beauty of it, you're poor. There's not a lot of wealth. Or you can have so much life sensitivity, and you go for a walk and a flower blooms and you smell the fragrance and you are in a peak of bliss. So the genuine wealth that any human being possesses is the level of sensitivity and the richness of our subjective experience. Where does that happen? This is the nervous system. This is the nervous system. How available are we to the richness of this divinity, this realm that we found ourselves in? Make no mistake, this is the goddess. This is the body of the mother. How awake are we to that? That's everything.
Why?
This is the nervous system.
If this, I don't even know if this is me projecting a desire of everybody, but I would imagine that most human beings, if you painted this picture for them, they would want to experience it.
Yeah.
They would want to walk down the road and pick up a flower and smell it and feel the bliss. They would want to be able to look into the eyes of the person who loves them most and feel all of the bliss in the world. Why are we not allowing ourselves to experience it?
You're so good at what you do, brother, because it couldn't be a better question. So we have this principle in Geometry of Grace of what is graha. It's a Sanskrit word, right? Graha. People are grahad. People are grasped, right? We can conceptually have a spiritual understanding of something. All is one. It doesn't mean that that's our experience. You can have someone that has a completely dysregulated nervous system that has the conceptual knowing that there is a field of oneness. It doesn't mean that that's their experience. They can be in deep suffering and conceptually understand oneness, right? But it becomes alive in the nervous system. So let's talk about this. You brought up before we were speaking this principle of this word samskara, right? These subtle imprints of previous memory, right? There's bondage that we carry ancestrally from previous lifetimes, right? We call this the prarabdha karma. There are different types of karma. The prarabdha karma is like the blueprint of karma that you have. We see that in the birth chart. We can get into this at some point, but you have a certain level of bondage that brought you here into this realm. Being born into this loka, into this human experience, there's some papa karma, tough, difficult, negative. Like Saturn, the planet Saturn represents this. Something brought us here karmically. There's a density that we take birth into this realm, right? This is what tradition says. There are so many realms. Coming here right now, especially, there's an intensity, there's a density to the field of this planet right now. So we come here as souls to learn certain lesson. So we go to smell the flower. Well, the smell of that flower comes through so much interference. What is that interference? That's samskaras. Genetic, ancestral, inherited trauma, misunderstanding of who and what we are, what life is. See, we live in an uninitiated culture. We weren't born into a culture that says this whole world is a church. Your body is the altar. We don't hear that. We are born into a world that says, chop, chop, make some money. Go eat your candy, get your shots, and we'll learn your 1, 2, 3s and ABCs. Go do something, right? We're not initiated into being, right? We miss this window in our development. So what happens? We smell the flower when we're 40 and go, oh, I want the bliss. Well, that's 40 years of living conditioned in an uninitiated culture. We're not set up for success in mystical pursuits. And so that's where we come in, brother. Right? A lot of us now on our spiritual team, being a little silly, but and also not. There are a lot of people on the planet right now that are going through a very genuine awakening experience. We're in a quickening of human consciousness right now. That's what you're doing, brother. You're serving that. And so we're here ideally to play a role in supporting the new children coming in and all generations of people to be able to do the work to smell that flower without the interference and experience of bliss. What is illness? When you're working with cancer, your beautiful cancer work. Why does that happen? Because there's so much interference. Life is saying, help me. I want to thrive.
It's an accumulation of bound energy that is stored and stashed away in the system. And over time, that bound energy creates a myriad of issues, from inflammation to dysregulation to disharmony. And that then, at some point, expresses itself through physical symptoms. And if we don't listen to those physical symptoms, they get worse and worse and worse until the body snaps. And then that snapping becomes the greatest opportunity for awakening, if the individual can see it through that lens.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's all the intelligence of nature working through us. I do believe that we were all born I love that perspective of us being light and then us being brought into this density to actually clear the samskaras, the ancestral traumas, whatever we're carrying through our lineages? And what if all the crises that we were experiencing in our lives, from illness to relationship to failure to loss, I mean, everything is just a mirror.
It's a geometry, brother.
It's a geometry.
Yes.
It's a sacred geometry.
Yes, exactly.
In so many ways. And our choice to be in right relationship with the geometry is destiny.
Yeah. I love that. Yeah, I love that. Yeah. We say that life is a dance of light and sound within the dimension of time. Right? Oof. This particular realm that we are in, there's a dimensionality to it. There's a spectrum of light and sound that's dancing within the dimension, a dimension of time. We call that our life. And within that, there are bounds, right? There are bounds where there are karmic expressions, there are contracts that exist with different people as we're walking each other home. Home to what? To the realization that we are infinity, self-aware. We are a self-aware infinity. If we strip away all the stories, all the bondage, that's all there is. It is a self-aware infinity. And that expresses as light and sound dancing within the dimension of time forever. So deep. And I just want to bring it back, though. You said something so beautiful about these, the way that pathology expresses through bound energy. And what happens is there are actually these patterns of sound and light in the energy body. That's where it starts, right? That's where pathology starts. It doesn't arise in the physical. The physical body is an expression of a more subtle body. There's a subtle scaffold, right, of light and sound that expresses as the physical body. And so, of course, we suffer in our culture. We think this. You think this is you. Maybe some of you don't. Maybe you've crossed that river, but most of us in our culture have not.
I would argue that is the pathology. The illness is...
Shake your hand. Yeah, that's deep, brother.
Well, no, but
the original disconnection.
The disconnection from that light. And it's so interesting because, we've now collected hundreds of thousands of data points in cancer patient populations, everything from what are the most, we literally, I've seen everything from belief systems, what are the core wounds, the core emotions that are not being expressed, the core challenges, the core types of traumas, the core types of conversations, language patterns. We see everything. And there are patterns inside of specific cancer patient populations. And it comes back to this, that disconnection that's happening is showing up as a pathology in the mind, a pathology in the body, a pathology in the relational fields. And that is all then leading to the ultimate breaking of the system, because there is so much disconnection. But it's only, in my humble opinion, it's because of the attachment to the pathology.
Yes, exactly.
The identity.
Yes, the perpetuation.
The identity, the identity of being sick, the identity of having illness, the identity of having flaws, the identity of being out of alignment, the identity of being broken. When it was all...
Or being separate.
Being separate. It's all an attachment to an identity that was never yours to begin with.
Yes, exactly. Right, because when you were born, brother, right, 10 seconds old, were you Raj? Was Raj a construct yet? No, you were life. You were just an expression of life. But that expression of life eventually was called Raj enough that this life started identifying as Raj, right? Oh, I'm Raj. I have all of these likes and dislikes and preferences and things, right? But the reality is that Rajness is a construct. Truly. All that's happening is life. Just like the tree is raging, the sun is raging, everything is happening. But we have to impose some level of meaning to exist. Why? I'm sorry, I'm going to get a little deep here kind of quick. It's because we don't have enough energy to sustain a level of awakeness. And this is where geometry comes in. If we don't have enough energy to sustain a level of union and awakeness, we come in with constructs to bind energy to exist on the level of energy that we have. Ooh, right?
Wow.
And so we perpetuate identity. Now, ideally in our culture, the awakening process is the conscious evolution and dissolution of these bondages. Ideally, it's a conscious process of dissolving the facets, the beliefs that we've unconsciously held onto and gathered.
Gosh, you said something so profound. The almost, it feels like the capacity for awakeness. Yes. Because, so if I'm understanding what you're sharing is because we don't have, are we choosing a structural integrity that maintains a certain level of awakeness?
From where? Yes, but unconsciously, but from what? From the spine. This is where it gets really interesting. It's actually has to do, because you start with the nervous system. Yeah. It's actually the pattern of your spine, the level of activation and openness and availability of your spine to run life energy has everything to do with your level of perception and participation in the field of existence. Everything. It's all about the spine, right? And so the level in which your spine is activated, to that extent, you will bind energy from the field and create a persona and an identity, right? And so if we start opening up the spine and allowing these integrated maps of consciousness, of identity, if you can understand that you are not this body and that this entire world you don't exist within but exists within you, when you begin to open the spine, that paradigm allows for a very high level of perception, sustain. Now your identity is sustainably not bound to this physical form, right? But if you don't have that paradigm, this happens with psychedelics. If you don't have that paradigm initiated and you run a ton of energy, people freak because they can't handle that amount of truth. So what happens? They turn into fundamentalists or whatever, and they go, this is the truth. All they're doing is binding to a certain geometry of perception to allow their system to feel safe in the level of energy that they're running. And it has everything. That's why we work with the spine so deeply.
So safety, I'm glad you brought up safety.
Yes.
So it sounds like safety is the container. So your capacity for safety is your capacity for awakeness.
Can you say that again?
Your capacity to the safer you feel, the more awake.
Love it.
You can tolerate, you can access, you can channel, you can harness. I don't know what the word is.
No, brother.
But there's
it's
it
great.
feels like safety is the boundary. So it is like, so I guess, how does one come into greater levels of safety?
Love it. So Muladhara, right? The root, this base chakra, okay? What happens is that everybody wants Z before A, right? People want M before B, whatever, however you want to look at it. And what happens is that people maybe, again, psychedelics are not a big part of my life, and it's certainly not my work, but for whatever reason, they're coming up in this. And it makes sense, because in our culture right now, a lot of people are using psychedelics. I have no problem with that. But what happens is that the floodgates open to these higher centers, right, of awareness in the body, in the subtle body. These enormous amounts of energy happen, but was there proper development of the root?
Yeah, there's no container.
Exactly. And so is that a sustainable level of awakeness? No, we say states are free. Stages are earned. This is very important. Anybody can pop a pill, take a tab, whatever, and have a heightened state.
Yeah.
But when you come to a stage of development, that is earned. Where is it earned? In the spine. That's where it becomes real. You cannot fake it. You cannot. Why? Because this is not your consciousness. This is the life in you. The pattern that your spine is in, the level of openness, right, has everything to do with the stage of development and the paradigm in which you perceive reality through. See, this house has many rooms.
Hold on, before this is really good.
Yeah.
Can you create for anybody listening just awareness of what these stages are and what are the perceptions of reality that must be understood at each stage?
Woo. Okay, so definitely, Anne, I want to be aware of that we haven't set a lot of groundwork. So yes, we work with a couple different systems. We have options. I mean, Well, there are different developmental maps.
Yeah.
You know, why don't we just speak about a more, maybe the word is colloquial, or like a more well understood, acquainted system of this, there are, people say 7, we're going to talk about 6 chakras. Okay. For those that are well studied in this, we're going to talk from a more like current cultural perspective. Different traditions have different perspectives of the chakra system. I'll leave it at there.
So, well, I guess what I'm curious about is like, because
I think I've got you.
What I'm interested in is how do we help people go and increase their capacity to experience more aliveness, more awakeness. So
let's go from a
if
map
somebody's
of,
stuck right here, there's clearly a paradigm shift that they must integrate. A belief system, a set of awarenesses, a set of perspectives, a set of actions, a set of skills, whatever it is, for them to go from here to here. And that to me is something that's valuable for people to know, because as one is moving through the world, if you know where you're going, you can know where you are.
Yes.
And most people aren't aware of where they are. This is why I'm doing everything the work we're doing at Liberate. It's like, because like we have to help people establish a baseline of where you are. If you don't know where you are, then you're just going to be lost in the field of awareness without a map and a compass to really know. And I think these developmental maps are so valuable. And if we can just showcase it and explain it to people in a way that they can understand, I think that will awaken more courage and more inspiration to know that, hey, this thing I'm swimming in right now, it's not where I'm going to be. I need the right paradigm shift. I need the right, it's the right insight. That's how easy it can be. It's the right insight with the right container. It's and that's what I get excited about, because
I can feel your excitement.
Well, it's not out of reach for people. This work in so many ways has been a privilege for me. I feel privileged to have gone down the path of of being gifted, either the resource or the people to be able to do this work. And there's so many people who don't have that. And this is why I do this podcast, so like we can create resources for people to just know where they are, and that they don't have to be stuck there, and that they can just take steps. And so that's why
I love it.
I'm sharing, because it's just
so good.
It's so important, and this work and awareness of these maps are so important. So
great, let's do it.
Anyways, that's context for giving you a little more frame for why I was wanting to share.
I love it. So like I said, there are different perspectives and maps, but we'll start with one that a lot of people are somewhat familiar with. In Geometry of Grace, there's another map that we use, but it's nuanced enough that we risk getting a little lost in the weeds with that one. It's more of a developmental map that goes through the way that someone's development happens from a planetary and elemental perspective. But let's talk about the body and the subtle anatomy. The base of the subtle system is called the Mula Dhara. When someone's energies are rooted here, the dominant pursuit of life and meaning comes from basic needs, basic needs, sleep, food, things like this, right? Foundational. Now, because it's lower doesn't mean that it's not as important. If anything, it's might be the most important. In fact, it kind of is. You need to make sure you're getting enough sleep. You need to make sure that you're getting food, these basic things, okay? So Muladhara. Now we have Svadhisthana, okay? The second chakra, or subtle center, has a lot to do with our expression of, we could say, pleasure, okay? The first is related with earth, the second is related with water, okay? So this is someone's dominant experience. It might be more rooted in, I'm keeping it simple, like sexuality, or like, I want this. I have this desire for this. If I can get that satiated, then I'm okay. See, before it was like, if I can get food and sleep, I'm okay. Then the energy rises. If I can get that desire met, so good, now I'm okay. Then Manipura chakra, okay, solar plexus, right, fire. Now it's, I need to exert my will. I have this thing I need to get done, and if I get that done, I'll be okay. If I can get this mission done, if I can get that thing done and exert my will, I can feel met and satiated. Then we have anahata, means the unstruck sound. Now we start getting into a little bit more of a subtle dimension of life experience. The heart center. Anahata means the unstruck sound. The unstruck sound, this bell that's ringing of no origin. This is the nature of the heart. The heart is singing a song that never began. The unstruck sound. And truly, I'll ask everyone to explore this. If you can get quiet enough, if you can really get quiet enough and let your system settle, let the pranas settle, you will hear. You will hear this emanation, this emanating presence, the center of your being, the center of your heart. The heart is the center of the center. It's the center of the spine. There's this beautiful song being sung. This is your essence singing through, right? If people's energies are dominant here, then all of a sudden there's this relational quality in space. There's this attunement, right? Perhaps there's a deeper meaning of beauty. If I can have that met, then I'm good. Okay? Vishuddha, don't worry, we're almost there. Vishuddha chakra, okay, is this expression more of space, right? There's this, when the energies are dominant here, it's very powerful, actually. There's a certain level of maybe this, I might be misusing this word, but dominion, or there's a certain level of presence in a space that someone has, a certain command of the voice, sharing of vision, right? There's an impact that people can have, okay, from this place. Then we have Agna. The Saraswara is not a chakra in the same way, so we're not going to speak to that. But the Agna is this deep insight, right? If I can have my insight online, if I can penetrate the deep beauty and knowing of life, then I feel met. So this is a map. Now, the reason I share this is because if someone has a gripping or a dissonance or an interference with any of these centers, that will create a pathology, right? If there is any imbalance in the system will express. Yeah. And so we can see the way that someone's subtle body is. Now, truly, we go much deeper in the truth of the work. I'm giving a very basic.
Of course.
Yeah, but this is a map that we can use to see where people are and what they value and what their needs are. So I'm sorry, real quick. So if something happens, let's say that someone is getting stuck here, what do you think we need to do? We need to go back. We need to go back down. Do you feel safe? How's your sleep? Was there trauma in the early life? Does the person not feel safe in their body? Got it. And we have to track that through. And before blasting off into the deep mysteries of life, does the person feel safe in their body? Because what happens is transpersonal vigilance. People that don't feel safe, they go, well, I want to get out of here. And they develop all this psychic attunement and they drink all this ayahuasca and all these things. And it's like, that's so beautiful, you're seeing God. But did you eat breakfast?
Yeah.
You know?
Totally.
Did you call your mom today or this week?
Well, there's no one size fits all. I think we've had this conversation before
Yeah.
around like there's no one size fits all, and helping people understand that their specific imbalances are tied to specific maybe energy centers. And if they are maps like that, like that's one frame to look at.
Yes.
And the way I like to see it is like, I mean, by tracking what's presently active in your life.
Yeah.
Like if you do nothing else but just pay attention to what's not working, which takes courage.
Yes, it does. It does.
It's easier to say, hey, I'm actually just going to go to the ayahuasca ceremony for the 50th time and think that that's going to actually solve my problem, as opposed to looking at the places where you're getting deeply triggered, or the fact that you haven't been able to access some type of depth or connection in the thing you long so deeply for, or the fact that your thing isn't taking off. Like there's all these truths that we almost run from, and we go to the tool, we go to the medicine, we go to outside.
Yes.
But I'm finding the most honest path is to just look at what's not working. Where are you in trigger? Where are you in grip? I really love grip, actually. Like, I mean, how does is that a thing that you're tracking in the geometry of grace? Like, can you speak? Yeah. So can you speak to like, what are maybe pathology is a tough word because it's so all encompassing, but like, what are the things you're tracking to understand where there's dissonance or disconnection in the system?
Such a good question. So here we are back in our maps. So from the lens of geometry of grace, the body binds energy from the field in an organized way, right? So if two people are in a confrontation and there's anger, and that anger doesn't get fully processed, it binds in the spine in a very particular pattern. If someone is worried about getting somewhere on time, or worried about the bills, and there's a chronic stress pattern around that, it binds in the spinal cord in a particular way, right? It's an element. There's an elemental language. It's a planetary and elemental language. So I can palpate someone's spine, like I can feel consciously someone's spine, and be able to actually see how their system is in relationship with the field, how they're grahad. And we can also look at the chart, right? We could look at the chart along with that person being in the space, and we can see what elemental planetary dynamics are present. We can give particular practices, different sadhana to support that person, along as doing an agrahana session. What is agrahana? Agrahana is a modern healing approach that helps free people from deep levels of grasping, from the causal plane, the subtle plane, and the physical plane, the 3 dimensions of geometry that we spoke about earlier. So yes, there are ways to very specifically see the way that the body is binding energy from the field.
What is the geometry? Like, so like,
Wow. Yeah. No, I love it. Yeah.
let's just go there.
Yeah.
Like, well, cause like, I mean, at least what I love about this conversation, Alec, is, I've said this to you, you bring these maps, these ancient maps, these maps that are tried and tested, and you're sensing and feeling, and you've built such a robust data set just from your own experience. And then we're kind of coming at it from like the data side.
Right.
We're like, I'm in the weeds
Perfect
with
union.
people, like tracking over 500 data points on mental, emotional, spiritual, and relational well-being across the entire individual's lifespan.
Wow. Oh my gosh.
And so like I see patterns. Yes. What I call it is a pattern, right? And so I'm curious, like, what do you define as a geometry of dissonance, a geometry of trauma? Like, what is your definition of it? And I'm curious if, like, I can also speak to mine, but like, I'm very interested to hear, what do you even define as geometry?
Yes. So geometry is actually very pervasive in what it can mean. You can speak of the geometry, the beauty of life, and the geometry that exists within what we call serendipity, or what some might call coincidence. It's almost like wow, like that person is living their life over there, this person's living their life over there, and they don't know that tomorrow they're going to bump into each other and fall in love and have 4 children. Right? There's a geometry to that, an unseen to the common eye, a geometry to that. There's also a geometry to the way that the body is. Let's say if when you were 3 years old, you were shamed for something. A 3-year-old does not have the capacity to process shame consciously. And so that pattern lives in that body and goes unprocessed. And then 27 years later, they're 30 years old, coming through their Saturn return. That's its own thing. But and this process of shame, and they're like, where is this coming from? Why can't I maintain a healthy relationship? Right? Why does this pattern keep manifesting? I feel like it's coming out of nowhere. And we trace it back and we realize that, oh my gosh, this person, there's this core experience that wasn't able to be processed of shame at the age of 3. And it carried over, and the body manifested around that pattern. That lives in the spinal cord. That experience of shame, of anger, of guilt, it goes in, and if we don't fully experience it, we get grabbed. And the body and the psyche form around that. And this is a geometry. But what's beautiful is that through our awareness, our compassion, and our presence, we can go in and liberate. So we call this agrahana. When you put a in front of a word, in Sanskrit, it's the absence of. So grahana is to grasp. Agrahana is to release the grasping. This is the whole process, is to get so skilled at tracking these grahas, these patterns, and how they're manifesting really, and this is the last thing I'll say here for now, it's a cosmic setup, because those grahas, those patterns, are our way home. The guilt, the shame, the things that we're all locked up in, with our awareness, as we free them, that's how we teach. That's the beauty that we bring. That's our wisdom. As we awaken through these patterns of interference, we remember our essential nature, and this is that of the soul. We awaken as a soul, not as this body, right? A human doing. We become a human being.
It's so brilliant, man. I'm like, I just love. Each year we've had a conversation, and I feel like each year, as I've deepened, I am now understanding the depth of mastery that you're playing with. That is so powerful, because just so I can explain it from my lens of how I'm interpreting this, there's a geometry to the moment you were born, where the stars were, the constellation of energies that are organizing to your internal state. And then as you move through life, you almost have a geometry of the body that's storing whatever was passed down through you and recapitulating inside of this human form in ways that are trapping. Like there's a geometry. So it's like, as you go through your life, as the stars align and move out of alignment, it's like your geometry is playing with the geometry of the stars. And
it's a question of right relationship.
Right. Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, it's like you're always in relationship, right? It's just, and that's where choice.
But is it coherent? Yes, you got it.
That's where choice
comes into play. Is it coherent or not?
Yes.
That's the only question.
Yeah.
And we work with this principle called the spectrum of coherence. So you look at the birth chart, but you might share a birth chart exactly the same as somebody else, right? But your level of coherence dictates the way that that archetypal map will express. If you're in dissonance, the same chart, the same setup will express in a much more dense, discordant way than if someone's in a high level of harmony.
Well, let's look at it this way.
Yeah.
Why do certain souls choose greater levels of coherence versus not? Well, how does coherence play into choice? Because what I'm hearing with what you're sharing is,
this is a good one.
If I, deepen my practice, come into greater levels of coherence, I will access a greater level of the mystery.
Of choice. Actually, you answered that. You asked a
okay.
perfect question. The level of coherence dictates the choice. Right? Because see, we have this fascinating concept of free will. It's so misunderstood in our culture because it's like it's either free will or not. Well, maybe free will is relative. What do you mean, Alec? Free relative to what? To your level of coherence, your level of awakeness. The more free someone is, the more free will is available. But here's where the paradox comes in. And you know you're touching truth when there's paradox. The more awake someone is, the less they have a desire to tinker. The less of a desire to exert will. Because the more awake one is, the more awake one is to the level of perfection. And we realize that there isn't as much of an identity to participate in, that there's actually this perfect union. So free will is often a question of those that haven't come to the point where they realize that there's a phenomena of awakeness, of merging with all that is. And as that happens, the desire to exert one's will diminishes.
Oh my God.
It's paradoxical.
It's so interesting. I was just, yesterday I was in my sadhana and I was praying, and the common prayer that I've been really sitting with is like, show me what wants to happen. And just sitting there.
So you're seeing your deeper, higher level of coherence. You're noticing your relationship.
Yeah, it's like show me what wants to happen. But also yesterday I came into deep alignment with the truth that like what I want is what wants to happen.
And this comes from a certain level of cultivation.
Yes.
Because we can't assume that. But if you've come to that point, that says something about where you are in your journey.
Well, that was what I was proud of. I was like self high five. I was like, let's go, bro. I was like, well, because it actually felt like the first time where there was a level of self-trust. Where like I trust my channel, I trust my connectivity, I trust my conductivity, I trust my ability. And from that, there's a space of, oh, it doesn't matter if it's what I want or what wants to happen, it's all the same thing. And it's all going to lead to whatever this thing is coming into fruition.
My will and thy will.
It's all just will. It is just divine will. And if we are the gods we've been looking for, if inside us is God, then ultimately, the end point we get to is that space of the choiceless choice.
And the path that it is for us to become refined enough that truth is true in our experience. Because anyone can say that, right? Well, I'm God, so my will is the will. And someone can go and rob someone and say, well, my will is, okay, well, hold up, wait, maybe we should press pause. Maybe we're wrong. Or maybe we're not wrong. Maybe there's a path that one goes through of refinement, that truth, that my will and thy will are one, is a path of refinement. And perhaps that path is not different than the path of healing. Perhaps the path of healing is actually the same mystical path. Right? And perhaps our journey in this time of healing our body is actually a prerequisite to live in this planet as a holy presence and library of living truth.
Totally. Well, that's the piece I appreciate you bringing awareness to that, because I do feel like, 3 years ago, I don't believe I was at a relationship with myself where I trusted myself. Right. I had beliefs and stories and projections that had me feel like I wasn't enough, or I didn't have the capacity, or that I was, I deserved to be hurt, I deserved to be dismissed, all that. And so like I wasn't at a space where I could trust. But because of the healing work, because of the deep self-love, because of the self-choosing, the self-claiming, the honoring and the integration, I do feel like in this moment that I trust what wants to happen through me. Yeah. If there's like a desire, a playful curiosity, it's like follow that, because there's truth and wisdom to it. And I pray that we all get to that space. That's like what I want. Because if we could trust ourselves enough to follow our divine play, our curiosity, our desire, and know that it's coming from that deep well of connectivity to what wants to happen. Wow.
So
like,
beautiful.
What a beautiful place to be, and what a worthy thing to work for.
Yes. And I just want to acknowledge you in this. That's a very significant developmental moment when a human can come to the place where they've come into relationship with their own heart and their relationship with life to trust the inherent goodness. I trust my basic goodness.
That's it.
I trust the inherent goodness of my will. And that doesn't mean we'll be perfect,
No.
but it does mean that if we're not, we will attune and we'll listen and we'll learn. And so this is a very special and specific developmental marker, frankly, of a human's pursuit.
Wow.
And from that place, that actually becomes, see, to some that's the ceiling, right? To some that's what people are striving for. But there comes a time when the ceiling becomes the floor, right? And then the next ceiling is something that the person before couldn't perceive. Right now, that ceiling, right? I don't know, let's say there was another floor. I don't know what's above that, right? But if I make that ceiling my floor, all of a sudden, I've got a whole new lesson now, right? And so these lessons, as far as I've found, do not end. Now that doesn't mean that there isn't a pervasive, unified oneness to rest into that doesn't change, because there is. There is that empty fullness, infinite space to rest into. But the moment that we come out into the world, there's an endless hall of lessons, right? And so it's this profound dance of emptiness and form that is our life, right? If we go inward consciously, there's an endless expanse of there's an infinity of voidness and light. And there's a oneness in that. But the moment that we come into the form and experience ourselves in the many, there's an infinite amount of lessons, corridors, and mirrors to witness ourselves. This constant dance of form and emptiness. I hope not too esoteric.
No, Alec, I could listen to you talk for hours, bro. Like, you really are like just one of the true masters of your craft. Like, I don't know
Well, I'm
many.
pretty obsessed.
I don't know many people who devote themselves to this work in ways that you do, and I feel unbelievably grateful to be your brother and to be, I mean, even to just learn from you is a gift, and I feel honored to be walking on this path and to be so in shared dharma. It
Yes,
feels like there's a lot of shared dharma.
We are definitely shared in our dharma.
Yeah.
I love that about our friendship, is that's like so core for us.
Yeah.
There's this dharmic element that's so undeniable.
Yeah,
So
totally, brother. And I just so see you, and I so appreciate you. And yeah, I mean, gosh. So, okay, how do people, Geometry of Grace, I've brought awareness to this now
Right, yeah,
4 times,
yeah.
but has anything shifted and changed since
I know
the last time we brought
I keep
awareness
promising,
to it?
I keep promising to open the door.
You have a website yet?
Yeah. Yes, we do.
You have a website. Okay, great.
Yeah. So you know, at this point, you know, I'm here again a year later to say that you know, we have opened the doors a bit. It has happened, but we've maintained a certain level of privacy, and that's continued to feel true.
Cool.
However, my desire is and I'm going to give myself a year to bring forward more public-facing teaching. You know, right now we just finished an immersion. We had one of my dear teachers from Varanasi, India, come and do all these beautiful pujas. There's a dimension of our work to that where we act as a bridge for people to experience that type of traditional work. we don't need to go too into it right now. And then there are these other elements, more from a modern perspective, of supporting people with their healing and geometry of grace through charts, different sacred systems, and the healing work of Agrahana. I would say for people, reach out on Instagram, and then that way you'll know immediately when we public face and open the doors. And then you'll also know if we ever do like anything public, like a retreat. Maybe we'll do one. Maybe. It's tricky because we're blessed to have a really, really vibrant community, and it's just very full. And we there's a level of capacity that we've hit with that. And I don't want to open it up too much and risk losing the depth.
Oh, no, I don't necessarily. I mean, whatever's available is available.
Yeah,
for sure.
For sure. Thank you. Yeah.
You know, my deep desire is for anybody who's listening who feels deeply called to just to know how to engage. And so this is great. So is it at Geometry of Grace?
It's just Geometry of Grace on Instagram.
Great. Yeah, so we'll make all those available. Alec, I got one last question for you.
I know.
In the midst of everything you're doing, everywhere you've been and everywhere you're going, how do you stay grounded?
How do I know you're going to ask me that,
and
brother?
More importantly, what's one thing you do every day to just become a more grounded human being?
Beautiful, thank you. So I'm going to give the same answer I think as I gave last year.
And the year before.
Yeah, and the year before. Sadhana. It's prayer, sadhana, and I'm so grateful that one of my dearest teachers was here recently and blessed me with a new mantra practice that has just been creating such a dimension of beauty and presence and groundedness in my life. And so I'm entering in to a sankalpa, or a dedication, a commitment to that mantra sadhana right now. I begin on Saturday, and we'll do that for a year. And then when he comes back, if I'm so graced by him, I'll deepen into the tradition more and more. And that's what holds me. That's really what holds me, is my sadhana and my prayer and my mission and my service. And you, it's like, it's just the shared love of this holy moment. It just rockets me, man. I just connecting to that like undying flame of beauty and presence. It's unlimited energy, and I am ecstatic by it, and I want to share that beauty with people because it just is so beautiful.
Oh, brother.
So, yeah.
You're just the best. Just so grateful for you as a soul and for these annual chances to dive
at
down.
Least we've done even more.
But it's just so special to me, and I love you. I see you.
Brother.
I appreciate you, and thank you for showing up the way you do. Yeah, and everybody, that's a wrap for this week's episode of Stay Grounded. I'm your host, Raj. This is your old friend, Alec. And from us,
Namaskaram.
Stay grounded. We'll see you soon.
Thanks for tuning into this week's episode of Stay Grounded. No matter where you're from or what you're going through, I hope it helps you remember just how incredible you are and have always been. If you're on a path of emotional healing or self-discovery and would like to learn how Liberate can support your journey, head to www.rajjana.com/liberate, that is LIBER 8, to learn more about our current group programs and one-on-one offerings. I love you guys, and I'll see you next week.